Hey everyone, and welcome back. In today's video, we'll go through the plot of Freaky, a 2020 American slasher comedy film. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. Four teenagers gather around a campfire to tell the story of an urban legend serial killer. One of the youngsters, Isaac, spills a drink on his friend. Isaac then discovers a knife with the inscription La Dola on it. Inside his friend's residence, he wonders where it came from. He comes across a wine cellar and drops one of the bottles within. A serial killer shows up and kills him with a wine bottle. During that, we can see an intimate session with some of the other teenagers. The serial killer shows up and kills Jenny's boyfriend in front of her, then throws a spear trying to kill her. As she escapes, the serial killer turns to target his girlfriend, killing her on the toilet. A later scene shows Jenny hiding in a wardrobe closet. The killer approaches her hiding location, but cannot find her due to a hidden door. She goes out to seek help, but the killer finds her and finishes the job. Both parents arrive at home and find four teenagers are brutally murdered. The next day, Millie Kessler wakes up and has breakfast with her mother and sister, police officer Charlene. Millie Kessler and her friends, Nyla and Josh, arrive. Millie Kessler is a high school girl who is bullied by her classmates, which includes cheerleader Ryler. Millie forgets about her current work in class and is reprimanded by the teacher. Millie is comforted by Nyla and Josh in the next scene. Nyla is worried about Millie and advises her to start looking after herself. Her father died a year ago, and she needs to start moving on from her grief. An emergency alert appears, and Millie, Nyla, and Josh debate about the urban legend killer in the next scene. Showing one of the players bullying Millie, the high school mascot, later in the evening at a football game. Nyla and Josh console Millie once again after the game. She refuses Nyla and Josh's offer for a ride home and instead waits for her mother. She waits until Chad informs her that her mother has forgotten to pick her up before falling asleep on the couch. She's alone. It's getting late, and she sees the bliss-filled butcher across the street. Despite her deception, the butcher begins to pursue her. Millie flees to the stands of the football stadium where she finds a spot to hide. She is attacked by the butcher as she tries to flee. A strange incident occurs when the butcher stabs Millie in the left shoulder, yet he also receives the same wound. When Charlene arrives, she fires her gun into the air to scare the butcher away. The blade and the mask are later confiscated as evidence at the police station. A body switch spell has been set upon Millie and the butcher later that night. Millie awakens the next day in the body of the butcher in an abandoned house with a creepy decor. The butcher wakes up in the body of Millie in her room. Later, she joins his mother for breakfast. A mailman appears and asks Millie some questions. While in the kitchen, Millie's body, which is under the control of the butcher, attempts to stab Charlene. Her mother arrives just in time to stop it. In the butcher's body, the real Millie is wandering the streets. While bumping into some ladies, she is identified as a serial killer. She tries to break into the school to find her friends, almost colliding with a police officer. A later scene shows Millie, aka the butcher, walking down to the school entrance with her updated appearance that surprises everyone. Nyla and Josh try to ask her about it, but are interrupted by Ryler taking a selfie with Millie for Instagram. She then ignores Nyla and Josh and goes somewhere private with Ryler. Ryler wanders into the bathroom to find Millie, aka the butcher, taking a shower. Millie later shoves Ryler into the cryo room. The real Millie later finds Ryler dead. The real Millie finds Nyla and Josh, who recognize her as the butcher, and she begins hunting them down in an attempt to explain her predicament. She's also having trouble adjusting to her new body's increased strength and size. Millie is able to persuade Nyla and Josh with the beaver dance and their famous high five after a little skirmish in the high school kitchen. In a later scene, Millie discovers that his increased strength may be used to frighten the bullies at school. Millie has until midnight to stab the butcher with La Dola, or the body switch will be permanent. Their Spanish teacher assisted them in translating an article that revealed Millie has until midnight to stab the butcher with La Dola, or the body switch is going to be permanent. Millie, Nyla, and Josh devise a strategy to locate La Dola and reverse the body exchange. They run into the butcher during their chat. Later, the butcher calls out for assistance, attracting the attention of the police officer. In Josh's car, Millie, Nyla, and Josh flee. They later discover Charlene, who is on duty following them. They go to the store in an attempt to flee. Millie then goes inside a locker room to hide. Later, she and her mother have an in-depth discussion about Millie's father. Millie expresses her feelings to her mother, who suggests Millie may want some distance. Paula finishes the conversation by asking the butcher out on a date, which Millie gently refuses because he is a married man. Meanwhile, the butcher is attempting to murder Mr. Fletcher as a wolf in sheep's clothing. In a classroom that was completely vacant, she was overpowered at first, but the butcher stabbed the instructor with a screwdriver before finishing the job with a table saw. Nyla and Josh later locate an Aaron Rodgers mask for Millie to use as a disguise. Millie is subsequently discovered to be a member of their school's football squad who hangs out within the arcade. Booker is lured into a haunted house arena by the butcher. Millie knocks the butcher and Booker out in an attempt to save him. She and Nyla try to explain the issue to Booker at Josh's residence. Millie and the butcher are both attempting to persuade Booker, which is an unpleasant scenario. Millie prevents Booker from leaving by reciting a love poem that she had put into his locker. Later, Booker agrees to assist them with the intention of retrieving La Dola from the police station. They subsequently abandon Josh and the butcher. Nyla enters the police station and deceives Charlene, the station's lone cop, into looking for the butcher outside. Nyla steals Charlene's keys and takes La Dola from the evidence locker while she's outdoors. Nyla is caught stealing La Dola by Charlene. Millie and Booker, who are waiting in the car, begin to express their feelings for each other. Booker subsequently admits to like Millie. Booker reminds her that she has strength in her heart and intellect. Booker expresses his admiration for her and praises her poem. In a later scene, we're at Josh's house and we discover the mother arriving home early to find Millie chained in their kitchen. Later, he tries to persuade his mother that it's all a ruse and that he's really straight. With a knife, the butcher was able to flee and pursue Josh and his mother. Millie watches the butcher rush into the police station and follows him in. The butcher makes his getaway into a police car with La Dola, almost running down Josh. Millie overpowers Charlene and puts her into a prison cell while continuing to apologize. The butcher kills 2 football players at the homecoming celebration, finishing the remaining one with a chainsaw. Later, Booker and Millie discover the body. At the homecoming celebration, Millie, Nyla, Josh, and Booker arrive. They begin to disperse and hunt for the butcher. Millie appears just after the butcher has claimed another victim. They manage to attack the butcher and give over La Dola to Millie while on the run. An alarm beeps just as they're about to complete the rite. The butcher chuckles and informs them that they're running a little bit late. Millie recalls Booker advising her to set her clock 5 minutes behind to avoid being late to class. They conclude the ceremony just as the cops arrive. The butcher is shot by the cops. Following that, Millie and Booker exchange a kiss to end the night. The butcher then removes a fingertip pulse oximeter that simulated his death. Millie returns home to find the back door unlocked after Charlene has said goodnight. Later, the butcher appears, keeping Millie captive with a knife. The butcher admits he removed all of the pistol's ammunition, and Charlene tries to fire at him with an empty gun. Paula slams a bottle of wine into the butcher's skull. Regardless, he manages to defeat both Paula and Charlene. Millie is subsequently covered by the butcher, who tortures her about her anxiety and weakness. Millie kicks him in the balls and knocks him out. Charlene and Paula arrive to assist Millie. In the last scene, a wooden post is used to stab him in the chest. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.